Welcome back to my channel. It's JusMeLah, and in today's video I am reacting to Married at First Sight season 12 episode 9. So I'm going to go in the order that the show went. The first thing I had a reaction to was Jacob asking Haley whether or not she was attracted to him in their apartment with the basically hidden camera view. And I thought it was hilarious the way Haley's face responded to Jacob's question. She was just like, like, I really don't want to tell you this, but I did. And I just feel like certain questions you should not ask if you are not prepared for the response, okay? At any rate, we moved forward to Haley meeting up with her friends. It seemed like at Haley's house. So it was her two friends again from the previous episode, and Haley's friend, the pretty one. I think she asked a really good question. She asked Haley, do you think you can grow in like and in love with someone you are not physically attracted to? And that's a great question, and I think no. Like, I don't think, if you're not physically attracted to that person, I just think no. I think you can grow to like somebody, and maybe you can even grow to love someone you're physically attracted to, but I don't think the relationship is gonna last. I don't think you all are gonna work, because at the end of the day, when you look at that person, that attraction won't be there. You might fall in love with their personality, with the way that they treat you, but if you do not like the way that they look, I think it's a wrap. And Haley's friend asked her that because Haley shared with her that he was upset or things have been weird since she responded to him and let him know that she was not attracted to him. So the next scene is Clara and Ryan at a pottery location. They look like they're making mugs. And I thought it was funny because Ryan was saying that he wants to be the best at everything that he does. And so Clara is the person that does crafts and all of those things. And she looked over at Ryan's mug and was like, oh my gosh, yours might become better looking than mine. And he said he wants to be, or he likes to be the best at everything that he does. And in my head, I said, do you want to be the best lover that you can be? That was just funny to me. And first of all, I laughed so many times during this episode. I thought so many of the interactions between the couples was hilarious. So I thought it was funny when Ryan told Clara that her arts and craft area would be in the garage. Okay, she was not feeling that, but I thought that was very funny. All right, so next is Paige meeting up with Chris's pastor. It's the same pastor from the previous episode, the one that was the most vocal between the two. And for me, again, I just think it's interesting that the pastor called up Paige to meet up with her. And I'm wondering, what is the angle? Like, why does he want to speak to her? Overall, my feeling was this pastor wants to distance himself from Chris. Just like I said in the last review, my last reaction rather, the pastor wants nothing to do with Chris. He does not want to be associated with him. He doesn't want people to look at his church, his congregation, or whatever kind of following he's trying to create for himself and align him with Chris and his shenanigans. So him calling Paige up is him trying to further create space between himself and Chris and the way Chris is representing himself on this television show. He is throwing him under the bus, okay? He is rolling over him. When he told Paige, you know, a man who can't be decisive, a man that is always changing his mind is not a stable man, and you don't want to be with an unstable person. I feel like Paige needs to take that to the bank, but you'll see later on in the episode, child, I don't know what's going on with Paige. Also, we see Paige questioning whether or not Chris's ex-fiance is pregnant. She's like, I haven't seen a pregnancy test. I was like, would you see a pregnancy test? Like, do women keep that? I don't know. And she also says she hasn't seen a sonogram. The only way Paige would see a sonogram is if Chris himself was not sure if that child was his, and if he required that from his ex-fiance as proof that she was actually pregnant. But that's not happening because Chris is sure that it's his child. And so Paige, I don't feel like those are things you would see because they are not things that have been asked to be produced, you know? The other part about Paige and Chris's pastor's conversation that I didn't like is when the pastor said to Paige, you know, he's gonna look back at this and be like, I lost a good one. The pastor needs to say to her, he's not worthy of your time, and that's it. You deserve better. Eric and Virginia's date, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny that Virginia kept missing, I don't know what you call it, in golf. She just kept missing whatever. And then I thought it was extra hilarious that when Eric then tried, he kept missing as well. I thought it was interesting that Virginia brought up the fact that Eric had been harassing her about being in communication when she's away, make sure that she checks in every 1 to 2 hours. But we find out that when Chris went on his flight trip, that he was gone and was barely in communication with Virginia. And like, look at that. So you have expectations of her that you yourself don't follow. And to me, it just further supports that he is controlling. Like, you want to keep eyes and tabs on her at all times, but you don't need to check in and let her know where you are. I don't like that. This next scene is with Haley and Jacob. Haley comes home and she's gone and gotten Jacob some gifts. We find out that they are clothes, and she basically wanted to make it up to him. She wanted to do a nice gesture to just put herself in his good graces, to show that she is making an effort, that she cares, that this is something that she wants to work on and be successful at. The fact that they were clothes, I thought was excellent. She's been complaining about the way he dresses, so sis, go ahead and buy him some nice things, which is what she did. And he really did like those clothes. Her throwing in that shirt that he already wears at the end, I was like, why would you buy that? He already has that. But I guess it was her way of saying, like, I'm not trying to completely change you, but these are some things that I think you will look good in. And I think her friend told her to do that because her friend seems to be wise and her friend seems to be a problem solver. So good for Haley for taking her friend's advice. I'm just gonna say that that's where the advice came from. So after they do the fashion show with him trying on the clothing that she bought him, they sit down on the couch and they have a conversation and things seem to be going well. But then Jacob brings up again the fact that Haley is not attracted to him. And when they were in the kitchen at the beginning of the episode and the hidden camera caught the footage of her responding to him about being attracted, Jacob's response was, well, I don't see how this is going to work then if you're not attracted to me. Like, basically, we might as well end this now. There's no point. And I feel like that's Jacob's response because he's hurt. And instead of him sitting in his pain and hurt, he just wants to jump ship and he wants to be the one to end things so he doesn't feel rejected by Haley. But in this conversation that they have, he's being the ultimate jerk. I didn't write down exactly what he said, but that's how I felt about it. I just felt like he was deflecting or projecting rather and saying that Haley, she's not vulnerable, XYZ. It's like, no, Haley is being upfront, or at least she's being honest with you when asked the question, how does she feel about you? But you just can't handle the response that you're getting. And instead of just revealing how hurt you are and how this made you feel, you are making her the problem. I'm remembering now that after that conversation about attractiveness, she went to go visit Paige, I believe it was. And he brings it up in this conversation like, you know, too bad you didn't come home. And she's like, well, I didn't know that you wanted me to come back. And he's like, yeah, well, I wanted to talk to you more. And she said, well, you didn't say that. Had you told me that you were expecting me to come back home because you wanted to have this conversation, I would have made my way back home. Things were awkward. She wanted to give you your space, so she left so you could have some time to yourself. And now you're making her at fault because you didn't open your mouth and communicate to her. Like, I just feel like you're 38 years old. Why are you in a place where you can't just speak your mind and communicate properly? And I'm not trying to make this a war of the sexes, but I feel like this is something typical of men, that they don't communicate their feelings. Say how you feel, speak to your partner, and just open yourself up. He was showing that he was insecure, he was being combative, he was being accusatory, and it just was not okay. I felt bad for Haley in that moment, and I'm sure she was just like, what the heck is going on? Like, is this a trick? Is this a joke? Am I getting punked? Like, you can't seriously be responding this way to, you know, what happened. And I want to reiterate that he goes into this is not going to work because it's a way for him to like maintain some level of pride, his ego, that he's not the one being rejected. Like, I'm rejecting you, when in fact he does feel rejected. Anyway, Virginia and Eric now, I thought it was hilarious that they always highlight Virginia's drinking. I'm sure she is always drinking, but the camera does not always have to show it. But it's just evidence that they are pushing narratives for each of these people, right? When she was speaking to him, and I felt she was being open and vulnerable and really sharing with him how she's reacted in the past to her romantic relationships, how she's fled. It's been fear for her, right? That somebody is going to get up and leave. And so she leaves before they can do that. Or when she feels herself getting too attached, she removes herself as a way to protect herself. She felt like doing this process the person she would be matched with would be ready for marriage already. So that's one thing she wouldn't have to worry about. And all Eric can hear is, you run away, you run away. And he's like, so why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I don't understand why you're doing this process. It's like, yo, relax. You know what I mean? And when she went on to speak about her parents' relationship and how she has no positive examples of love and marriage, Eric butted in and was like, but this is a marriage. She was basically saying like being in a serious relationship, and he needed to correct her and let her know that no, this is not a serious relationship, this is a marriage. I feel like he needs to shut his mouth. Like, what you had to say is not more important than what she has to say. He's always prioritizing his feelings, his thoughts, and interjecting, over talking her, preaching to her, teaching to her, and it's annoying. Like, calm down. Okay, now we're on Brianna and Vincent, and they're having this conversation about love, and this is a activity that the experts gave to each of the couples. And Vincent asked Brianna, how does she know when she's in love? And Brianna said, I know that I'm in love when I stop looking for the flaws in that person and when I just accept them. I was like, yes, Bri. And Vincent really did like that. And Vincent said, I feel like the L word is coming soon. And I thought it was funny, and I was like, why you think that? She has not looked over your flaws yet, buddy. But no, he was right, it did. And I think, did she say I love you first? Or did he say I love you first? I think she said it first, then he said it, and I was happy for them. It was a good moment. And I also felt like, oh, Bri is so pretty. So now we are at Ryan and Clara, when they also are doing the activity that the experts gave them. And I just said, first of all, I really like Clara. I love how she keeps coming for Ryan. She started commenting about how he's mad or awkward during these love conversations and how he goes around being so confident and put together. But in this instance, he's really like stuttering and quite uncomfortable about it. And I just want to know who's hurt Ryan. Like, why is he so protective over his heart? Why doesn't he trust? What is he afraid of? And he himself says that he puts love all the way up here. And like I said in my last reaction video, he has put things up on this pedestal and he needs to just bring it down to reality. Like, it is not this abstract thing. It is very real, very tangible. And it is something that people experience every day. It's not exclusive. It's not rare. Like, you don't have to act like it's a precious jewel. At this point, I believe Haley and Jacob are at a restaurant. I think they went out to eat together. And I just felt like Jacob was so mean. This was in another interview, and it was an interview from a previous day. You could tell because of the attire that he had on. But they put it in this scene, and he basically said that he doesn't have any love for Haley. What? No, clearly you do. You like her. But I just thought, again, it was his ego saying that, right? So because she's rejected him, he now wants to seem like the person who's doing a rejection, you know? Like, of course you have love for her. Maybe you're not in love, but you care about her. You're interested in her. You do have love for her. He's just immature. So then they're having this conversation, and I think they're talking about whether or not they've been in love previously. And he keeps throwing jabs. I think he is just butthurt and he needs to quit. He says to her, I think that you've been in love before because you seem deeply wounded. What? It's just annoying. It's his way of coming for her. You know, they were basically talking about their past relationships, and she hasn't been in a relationship for 7 years, I believe. And I think he asked her, was she in love with him? And I believe she said yes, but I think now, years later, she's questioning whether or not she was, or saying, you know, maybe that wasn't really love. And he said, I think, you know, it's safe to assume you were in love because you're deeply wounded. And you would only be deeply wounded over somebody you're in love with. Who says to somebody that you're deeply wounded? That is not kind. Oh my gosh, he's 38, you guys. Weird. Anyway, he definitely seems like a killer in this moment. He seems creepy, and I feel like Haley is young and she does not need that. The next scene I react to is Jacob having some sort of gathering at his house, and I thought good for him for trying. He's trying to keep it light because Haley is saying, like, don't expect me to just be in love with you immediately. We just met. Let's get to know each other. Keep it light. Let me get to enjoy you and fall in love with you in that way, versus us having all of this pressure around falling in love because we're married. Yes, we are, but let's still date one another and let me see the goodness and all of that stuff in you. So he decides to throw something at the house to keep it light and fun with games and company. And all of the couples came over with the exception of, I think it was Vincent didn't come. Bree said he had something to do with work, and then Chris probably wasn't invited. When Haley was speaking about Virginia and Eric's relationship, I was just like, sis, do not compare. You have no idea what other people are going through. Just because from the outside it looks like everything is going well. I also thought Paige is so cute when she's with her friends. She was just laughing and joking with the ladies, and she looked so beautiful. She looked just different than we've seen her, looking all downtrodden because of Chris's antics. When Jacob was showing the fellas his house, his sauna. First of all, Jacob's house is so nice. I think it's so cool. The fact that he has the pool, the sauna, all of these different areas of his house. So while the fellas are getting the tour of Jacob's house, the ladies are all sitting down speaking. And the women ask Paige about her and Chris. And I feel like they...
So my camera died and I didn't realize when it died. So I continued to record. And by the time I realized it had died, the camera didn't capture what I was saying. I'm just going to bridge the gap between the clip you just saw and what you are about to see. Like I was saying, the girls are at Jacob's house and they begin to ask Paige how she's doing, and it gets into Chris and her's relationship. And you can tell that the girls are just waiting for Paige to be done with Chris, but it's also evident that she's not. And so I could imagine as a friend, it's really annoying to watch your friend be in a situation that is just completely toxic. I also said that the best thing that you can do as a friend in that situation is continue to listen. Just show up, be present. Don't offer your opinion. Don't give advice unless your friend asks for it, because at the end of the day, he or she is not going to leave that situation until they are good and ready to do so. You also just want to be supportive because you want your friend to continue to come to you and talk to you about what's going on. You don't want them to feel like they have to hide from you what's happening because they feel judged. So when you get all judgmental and you start inserting your opinion and basically telling them how trash of a person their partner is, they're not going to come to you because they already know that you don't like them. It's hard to explain, but basically shut your mouth, listen, and ask questions. You want to ask your friend questions that will let them realize on their own that this is not what they want, that this is not what they've imagined for their future, that this isn't going to benefit them in any way, that they will only end up hurt. So be wise. That's all. Okay, so now the next scene is Vincent and Brianna. Vincent has written some Spanish words on a chalkboard for Bree so that she can learn some Spanish. Family is important to him, and everyone in his family isn't fluent in English, and so he wants her to be able to communicate with them and understand them. So he's done this thing for her and explains that he will do it every day with 4 new words for her to learn. The final word on the chalkboard was bicicleta, which means a bicycle in Spanish. And then he tells her to hold on because he forgot something. He leaves the apartment and he enters back in with a bicycle. Okay, you should be caught up now. Let's keep watching.
Okay, so he got her the bike. I thought that was so sweet. I was like, okay, he's gonna have a good night tonight. And then the next scene is Chris and Paige. So Chris has come to sit and speak with Paige. I didn't mention it, but we learned earlier when the girls were all speaking at Jacob's house that Chris contacted Paige and he wants to sit down and talk to her. So Chris comes to speak to her and he informs Paige basically that he's upset that she ever spoke to his pastor and that he's cutting his pastor off for having done what he did. And I feel like Chris just wants to drive Paige insane. It's like a cat and mouse game. And he's enjoying it. And I said he reminds me of a sociopath. I don't know if it's a sociopath or a psychopath, but one of those things. I'm wondering, is Chris that? He must be that. He gets off on playing with her emotions and seeing how much he can do and get away with and how long he can make her suffer. I don't understand it. So Paige basically gets up and leaves because she's like, you've asked me to come here and talk to you and I'm asking you what it is that you want to say, and you have nothing to say. He tells her that he feels the same way that he felt the last time that they met. And so she's like, well, then why am I here? And I just want to know why you here, period. Even if he has something new to say, he could say something to you that would make you want to sit there and be with him longer. Anyway, we see Paige get up and leave, and we also see her speaking to the producers. And she tells the producers, this is what I'm talking about. This is the thing I did not want to deal with. And the producers tell her, go over there and tell him that. Let him know that this is it. Like, don't contact me again. And so I thought that was interesting for us to see the behind the scenes and see what kind of role the producers play in all of this. So she goes back to sit down and talk to Chris, and he opens up to her, right? This is how he gets her. He talks about how he's just torn because he made this commitment to be married and he wants to do this, but his ex-fiance is pregnant. He doesn't want to be removed from his child's life by not being with the mother of his child, and he wants to raise his son or daughter. And so he's just so conflicted, and that pulls on Paige's heartstrings because she's like, I don't know what it's like to be a man. And she empathizes with him. And again, I think that's the manipulation. Paige is so kind and caring and empathetic that he can sense that he knows that if he shares this sob story, she is going to soften up. Like, she was ready to kick him to the curb, and she just melted again. And she said, I think we should start over. He also tells her some next lie that I think he's afraid of falling in love with her again. Yeah, it's just crazy. But it's like, what's going on, Paige? Like, I feel like the show just needs to stop showing them now. I'm tired of Chris and Paige. I've seen other people say before I wasn't tired of them as yet, but I really am tired of them. Like, the thing I do want to say about this, though, is watching Paige, you're like, yo, she is doing some dumb stuff, okay? And I just want us all to reflect, okay, and think about the situations we've been in, or maybe you currently are in, and think about if cameras were watching you and people could see all of the decisions that you were making, you know that people would be saying the same thing about you that they're saying about Paige, okay? So check yourself and be compassionate, but also maybe wisen up and have the strength and courage to not be somebody's fool in the future, because you can see how terrible it looks for you to deny your own intuition, that thing that tells you that this is not it, but you bypass that because you don't want to be judgmental, or you want to try, you don't want to feel like you gave up too easily and that you didn't have enough fight and you didn't exhaust all of the possibilities. No, sis, sometimes as soon as you see and realize that this is not what you want for yourself, this is not what you want for the future, get up and leave. Okay, the point is, many of you have been Paige before. Okay, Bree and Vincent. Oh my gosh, Vincent needs therapy, poor baby. They go salsa dancing. Bree surprises him for some dance lessons. Bree used to be a dancer, or still is, and she wants to take some salsa classes. So Vincent cannot get it, okay? Yes, he's Latino, and they are doing salsa, which I think is a New Yorkican. It's a Puerto Rican, New York thing, and Puerto Rican thing, and he's Dominican, so he's into bachata. But it's the fact that he's not a dancer that he cannot catch the movements in the same way that Bree is. She may not know salsa, but she's coordinated because she's a dancer. She has rhythm she can pick up. Vincent is getting so frustrated. I don't think the instructor is helping, but Bree offers to assist him and he rejects her. He's visibly upset. It's almost childlike, and it's just sad to see like what has happened to him, that he feels so embarrassed when he doesn't get something, you know? And I think he just doesn't want to look bad, and he reacts that way. The other thing for me is like, Bree, you could tell this man is upset. I don't know why you keep pressing the issue. Why do you keep asking him, how does he feel? How did it go? You can clearly see he's upset. And I just feel like any intelligent person would understand, like, oh, okay, he's psyched because he could not do this dance class, you know? And so I just feel like, let it go. Like, give him his space and let him calm down. But whatever. And then she gets into her baby voice, which is mad annoying. But yes, he needs therapy. Oh, okay. So Eric and Virginia have a date. So Eric did something nice at his actual place. He cooked her dinner, and he again was annoying me with the, you know, I don't understand why she wanted to go through this process. Annoying. But whatever, they get through dinner. Everything is cute. And I'm looking at Virginia like, did she lay down her baby hairs? Did anybody else see that her baby hairs was swooped? Like, she took some gel and a toothbrush and designed those things. I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, Eric sings to her, serenades her with his, no, he didn't sing to her. He just serenaded her with his guitar. I thought that was so nice and so special. He told her that he's in love with her. She asked him why. I don't remember what he said, but it was something to make her melt. And I said, yes, Eric is also gonna have a good night. Okay, look at these fellas doing it right. Not Jacob though, he can't get right. That's why he hasn't had a good night. But yes, overall I felt like, look at these brave people telling their partner that they're in love with them and sharing the emotions and spilling their heart out. This is the stuff I like to see, okay? I could care less about the Chris and Paige drama. I want to see more of this. But we see next week, Chris and Paige will still be at it. Dr. Viviana comes and speaks to each of the couples, but we will wait until then to talk about it. This is all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's JusMeLah. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Peace.